Alrighty then, and that leads me to my own subject, which is a little bit different. A little bit of a, well, niche topic. I know I'm gonna offend some people, but it's something a bit of a departure from what we actually, cover here. And now we're gonna be taking a little look at the speedruns in Trackmania. Now, for some people who might be thinking, what? Speedruns in a racing game? It's not really that much of a popular thing. Well, Mario Kart has speedruns. Well, of course, these are the exceptions that actually confirm the rule. But yeah, Trackmania has actually had a pretty active speedrunning community, and still has an active speedrunning community running various titles. And in fact, we've had a few offline speedruns in a few marathons. I've got my runner here, I got my notes. So yeah, the offline speedrun stuff, we had Spam actually taking part in speedruns himself at ESA in 2017 and at the TwitchCon ESA 2019. He speedrun the Trackmania 2 Stadium in the all flags category, which means every single track from AO1 to EO5. First one time in 2017 he did it in 125.53, and the other time he actually shaved the whole 2 minutes off of his time with a 123, almost 3 minutes with a 123.05. Then fast forward to 2019 and the ESA Summer Edition. Now, we're gonna see that we had actually two speedruns from two different games, and those are not TM2 Stadium. First of all, we had Nations Forever, which has been speedrunned by Virtual, the man himself, speedrunning Nations Forever in the All Tracks No EO5 category and showcasing a few showcasing a few fun cuts along the way. And yeah, in the end, it ended up with a 106.59, just below the 107 mark, with the estimate being around 115. So that was a really good job, and yeah, which was pretty well received overall by the people that were actually present in the audience. And yeah, then we also had another speedrun, and that was from Riolu. Now, Riolu was actually submitting Trackmania Turbo. That was, remember, ESA Summer happened a few months after the clean sweep of Riolu had ended, the moment where Riolu had all of his 200 world records on Trackmania Turbo, and he decided to actually do an all-flag speedrun as well with on the PC release of the game. Basically, all tracks from 001 to 200. And compared to Trackmania Nations Forever, speedrunning Turbo is much longer than it actually looks, because yeah, you've got like 40 tracks, what is it, 50 tracks per environment, and then you got multiply that by 4. You see how much depth the game has compared to TMNF, plus the different kind of skills you have to actually put through depending on the environment. It can actually be kind of complicated, especially with the new tricks that Lagoon introduced, such as the drag boost with the magnet blocks that actually allowed you to get a little bit off in the end when you were actually going downwards to get a bit more speed. Those are some of the techniques that were involved in the speedruns. You did it 6 times. Do you know how it feels? Okay, so we got Rasta in the chat, the main admin of the speedrunning community, who also runs the speedrun.com leaderboards. And yeah, as for Riolu's speedrun, it ended with a 3 hour, 57 minutes and 30-second time in the end. So yeah, a pretty lengthy run, although the way under estimate, since estimate was, as you can see on the screen, at 4 hours and 30 minutes, which was planned to be actually much longer. And I feel like I'm not really sure about that, because I feel like outside of the speedrun.com leaderboards, that is actually the best time we've seen so far on Trackmania Turbo in real-time attack. Now, I have to explain real-time attack. Real-time attack is basically taking the time that it takes from when you actually start the speedrun by pressing start on 001, and it ends when you cross the line in 200, and you actually count in the loading times and whatever. That's real-time attack. There's another way to actually calculate time, and that is in-game time. Now, there is a little bit of a piece of software that is actually available as a resource in the Trackmania Speedrun forums called the in-game time calculator, where you basically input all of the times from every one of your tracks, and it basically adds them all together to give you the total time that you spent with the entire tracks, with only the track times running, and not just the loading times and whatever. So yeah, you can see the final, the end of the run here for Riolu, which actually caused him a bit of problems with the final jump, the final loop jump here, causing quite a bit of trouble to Mr. Streamer. But in the end, he managed to get it work done and crosses the line in a few seconds time. There we go, final loop jump, and time 3:57.37 in the end for that particular speedrun. Now, in terms of other people, so yeah, Rasta is the main administrator of the Trackmania speedrun community, along with Darklink940. It must actually be noted, the two people actually run the leaderboards on speedrun.com. Yet fellow Norwegian player who actually holds a bunch of records in one of the other games that I'm gonna present in a little bit. Don't worry, it's gonna be quick. So yeah, we do have environment. Basically, almost all the games are there except for two, Sunrise and Original, because nobody has actually bothered to actually run the games yet. Let's hope that this sees some change. So to give you a rundown of the all flag speedruns in, for instance, Stadium, on the leaderboard of Trackmania Stadium on speedrun.com, it is Nick Soltica, American player from Team 300, who actually holds the world record with a 1 hour 12 minute 1 second and 1/100th of a second. So 1 hour 12 minutes 01.010. That's actually time attack with that's actually the time calculated without the loading. And with the loads, it's actually the working out to a 1:14.20. As for TMNF, it is actually Virtual, who still holds the world record with the in the All Flags No EO5 category with a 1 hour 4 minute and 45 seconds in real time, and in-game time, it is actually a sub 1 hour time. It is a 58:30.880. Now, you're seeing that it's not exactly the run that we're watching now. This is something that is interesting. It's basically a Trackmania race around the green tracks as part of a marathon of speedrunning called l'Ultime Décathlon, which is actually a French organized speedrun tournament where basically you have to learn 10 different games to actually be the fastest and actually complete the game as fast as possible in certain categories. And in Ultime Décathlon number 7 in 2019, it was actually part of the Trackmania 2 Stadium was actually part of that map packet. I think it was the 4th game that was actually being run. So yeah, the category used here was not the all flags, it was only a single series that was run, and that is the green flag series, so from B1 to B15. And as you can see, there was actually a pretty tight race through and through, even though we had a bunch of different, a few different players' skill when it came to the game itself. As you can see from Stefla crossing the finish line in a bit of a little bit late compared to, for instance, Doremi, Devil Tifa, and Taker, who are the people who took part in the grand final of the Ultimate Decathlon that year, which was actually played at the Stuntfest festival in Rennes. And in the end, it was Taker who won the race with a time of, actually, if I actually wrote it down here, it was an 11:31, if I recall correctly, after the calculation was done by the for the in-game time. And yeah, Taker taking it briefly from Devil Tifa and Stefla, and Loremi actually crossing the line in last place. Now, in terms of the of another game that I really wanted to actually talk about, that's kind of like a brief overview of the speedrun scene, of what's actually been done in the speedrun scene for Trackmania so far. And now let's actually talk about a bit of a loopy line. So, imagine if you're in 2009 and you're wondering, man, Trackmania looks fun, but I don't have a PC. On which platforms can I get it? Well, there was actually a alternative version of the game, as you can see right now, and it has actually been developed for the Wii console, and it's also been developed for the DS, which we saw the early edition of Turbo being released in 2010 for the DS, and this game released shortly thereafter called Trackmania Wii, and as you can see, it's completely wacky as shit. All of these shortcuts that you could pull that have actually been discovered by Ryolu over the past few weeks, in the crazy shortcuts compilation that are now available on his channel, which I'm using as a backing track. You see the Desert B5 here, the first cuts in this video, and yeah, some people have actually took a liking to actually on TM Wii and found it as a fun game. And yeah, Ryolu has actually been taking quite a liking with his clean sweep series of streams where he tried to get the world record on pretty much every single track, although it didn't really work out that far for him. He's currently on the 117 world records so far, and look at the shortcut here, zoop. Clipping through the ground. That's basically a normal thing in this game. One thing to note is that the Nadeo was the one commending this game and actually using the assets of Trackmania United Forever, but the physics engine has been programmed by a third party. This is not an Nadeo physics engine, it's actually a physics engine called Octane, made by Firebrand Games, which has been used for both this version on Wii and for both games on the Nintendo DS. And you can see that the physics are quite a bit different, with a lot more bounce and also a few of the textures not having a solid plane, so cars can fall through them. It's actually completely wacky as shit. I would recommend actually trying out at least trying out either the DS version or the Wii version, much better, because you can actually get it to run pretty good on an emulator. Or if you have a Wii yourself and have the then you should probably buy a used copy of the game and try it yourself. But yeah, it's a way different experience compared to even United Forever on the PC. For instance, Coast is the most starking example. In United Forever, if you go above 85 miles an hour on 85 kilometers an hour on Coast and you turn, basically going to drift and go into the outside wall, which is why I hate Coast with a passion, by the way. Whereas in the Wii version, it is a hell of a lot more grippy than on the PC version, thus enabling you to take corners at like 160 instead of 80. So yeah, it makes some pretty wacky experiences, including this shortcut right here, where basically you take the checkpoint, turn around, and then look at the checkpoint he pulls off. So as you see here, no collision of the poles. Normally that would have been an instant rip if that was a PC version, but no, here you basically just go through. That's the best thing I've ever seen. This, if you want to see the shortcut compilations by Riolu, they're on his channel. Trackmania Wii Crazy Shortcuts #1 and #2. #2 being dropped a few days ago. And yeah, that is actually some pretty good shit and some pretty fat reroutes sometimes by the being discovered by players. And in terms of the sitrep of the Trackmania Wii scene at the moment, it's mostly individual level runs, or IL runs as we call them. So mainly they're kind of standard hunting down the tracks that you would see on TM Stadium. For instance, Kappa doing the hunting EO3 at the moment in TM2S, or even the AO1 world record that was broken on United Forever. As you can see, the hole-in-one by Riolu, scoring him in a sub 27 second time. And yeah, for the IL runs, Riolu holds 117 world records overall in the Speedrun.com Trackmania Wii leaderboard. The next one, the closest one is actually Nursens from Poland, and he holds 34 world records. Although most of his world records are held in the puzzle tracks that are actually still a thing in Trackmania Wii, and also he holds pretty much all of the Stadium D track records. D1 through D4 are held by Nursens. And Darklink, one of the admins of the Trackmania speedrunning community, holds 17 world records, so you can see there's quite a bit of a gap between Riolu and the rest of the pack. And thing to be noted is that Darklink holds 17 world records, and he holds most of them in the platform tracks. There are a total of, I think, 10 or 11 platform tracks. Let me actually check that real quick from the IL board. Yeah, there are actually 21 tracks in total, and yeah, he holds records on I think around 14 or 15 of them, with a few other records held in puzzle as well. So yeah, Darklink, not too shabby, even though, yeah, Riolu's pretty much overshadowed everything in terms of record holding. Now, if you want to be a bit more educated about the speedrun scene in itself in Trackmania, I can wholeheartedly recommend you to check out the Speedrun.com Trackmania series page, where you basically have the listings for games from the original Nations ESWC game all the way until Trackmania Turbo and even Trackmania Lagoon. And if you want to actually get in touch with Rasta Bobby or even Darklink or some of the other speedrunning members and actually discover some of the fat reroutes that have been discovered on the TM Wii, for instance, or discuss other Trackmania games, then there is also the TM Speedrun Discord. Now, fun fact, I actually speedran a Trackmania game myself, and that was back 4 years ago. It was Trackmania Nations ESWC, and I did the beginner track speedrun, so from A1 to from A0 to C9, if I recall the track names correctly. And fun fact, I still hold the world record in that category, although not by much. Let me just check the leaderboard right here. Where is it? If I can actually find it. Trackmania series. Go back to ESWC. The page wants to load. Thank you. Yeah, I'm kind of working with a bit of a shoddy internet for browsing pages, but I can still stream, so that's fine. There we go. The time I did was a 9:29.57. That was real time attack. 9 minutes and 29 seconds. There we go. I'm still at the top of the leaderboard by a full minute compared to Darklink on real time, but in-game time, it's actually not that wide of a gap, because I did a 6:00.540, so a 6 minute point 54 hundredths of a second, but Darklink did a 6 minutes 01, so 6 minute 1 second 0.860. So so we're quite a bit closer compared to when you compare it in real time attack, and the record still stands after I submitted it, which was, let me check the submit date. That's going to be closing the stream after that. Don't worry about it. February 29th, 2016. Damn, that makes me feel old already. I was 19 when that. I wasn't even 19 when I actually made this. Holy crap! So yeah, I feel like I gave a fair bit of an overview of the speedrunning state of speedrunning community, and also the kind of wacky things that are actually up there in the Trackmania speedrun scene. So as once again, I can only recommend that you watch the speedruns, for instance, by Virtual on TMNF or Riolu on TN Turbo, or even Spam speedruns on Trackmania 2 Stadium. And if you want to actually learn more about the speedrunning community itself, there's the speedrun.com page of the Trackmania series and the Trackmania speedrun community Discord, which has been spammed by Rasta in my own chat right now. So yeah, I've covered pretty much everything there is to cover. I hope that the members of the speedrunning community are okay with what I've actually presented, and I hope I didn't say too much bullshit. But yeah, I feel like this is pretty much it. Do you have any questions in the chat regarding any of the subjects that we discussed, such as the MP4 server issues and how we can fix them, the speedrunning community, for instance, or what actually you feel Trackmania would be missing? We can take a few questions in, and after that, we're going to close the stream off.
But something that is important to mention about the speedrun is the only reason why I care about speedruns. Because let's be honest, the speedruns like Riolo, Virtual, and Spam did, when you have like loading time coming into play, I don't see that as something good, because then it's basically who has the faster PC, who has the faster loading time wins. Because the difference between who is a good driver and a bad driver in Trackmania can be like under a second. So then it's loading time. But the good thing about the speedruns is the amount of viewers they bring in. If you just Google, or if you just YouTube search for Trackmania at the moment and go to most viewed videos within the last 12 months, the run Virtual did is number 3 with 430,000 views.
Yeah,
and then Riolo is
insane.
number 10 on that list. So the numbers that speedrun brings into Trackmania is insane. But speedrunning as a competition and as something I'm not too fan of. I watched both of them. I even had Kappa on a holiday here in Norway, but I still prioritize to watch Riolo do it, because it's something that takes place in Trackmania and something that's interesting. But competition, maybe if you do it without the loading times, then it's fun. But besides that, not something I really care about.
Yeah, so yeah, we had you said that of course it would be the race of who is the better PC when you're actually using RTA. That's the main problem. And Rasta saying that there's actually a script for the split, the program called Live Split, which we use in speedrunning to basically take the splits at H in every track, which basically stops the timer when you get into a loading screen and only restarts it as soon as you're into the track and actually have started and gained control of your car. So that's actually there are actually workarounds being used to circumvent the fact that RTA can be playing a huge factor, especially with different configurations. A question from Beltram: do you think speedruns can attract more people to the game, even if not down to speedrun the game, considering that TM has a huge learning curve? I feel that yes, of course, because Trackmania, some people do hear about it and they feel it's good, but sometimes they don't feel like, oh yeah, I heard of that, but I don't really know what it's about. You show them a speedrun and they're like, oh, that's actually pretty sweet. Some people are actually in love with the game. I've actually viewed the game, the speedrun by Virtual 430,000 times, and Riolu's Trackmania Turbo speedrun, although it's a different game, has been close to 100k last time I checked. So yeah, it will definitely bring a bunch of other people into the game. Speedrunners are good because they show the entire game at once, unlike competitions will focus on a single competitive style. Terminator 681 making a very good point here. Because, yeah, you can actually cover and get some good coverage for Grand League, From Zero to Hero, TMO Dirt Cup, Full Speed League Glitch Edition, but that's only focusing on one tiny bit of the community or the driving style at a time, whereas if you get a full game speedrun, you get the entire panel of possibilities of driving that you have in Trackmania. Okay, I've got a question coming in from SRK here.